Hey, what's up guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Philips, now brace yourself for monitor numbers, of 275P4VYKEB. Yep, it's a mouthful. Now this is a very expensive 5K monitor, and when I say very expensive, I mean it's between £840 to £1,200 in the UK, and on Amazon USA it's $1,600. Now, if that hasn't put you off a 5K monitor, well, I don't know what would have. But anyway, monitors which are 5K resolution, they often cost from £750 up to £1,200. So it's no surprise to see the Philips here. So in case you might be the average Joe like myself, yes, it does surprise you to have a high price tag, but that's what you have to pay for a 5K monitor, at least at the end of 2016. Now its resolution runs at 5120 times 2880 at 60 Hertz. So if you want to run that resolution, you're going to have to run two display ports from your GPU to the monitor. The reason behind this is just to do with the amount of data that can be transferred through a display port. Well, as far as my knowledge goes, if you run only one display port into the monitor, you run a maximum resolution of 3840 times 2160 at 60 Hertz. Now, in terms of inputs, the monitor only has two DisplayPort inputs, which is slightly a shame because I would have liked a HDMI 2.0 input as well, not to run 5K, but to run, for example, a games console next to it. Now, don't get me wrong, someone buying this monitor hasn't got a gaming sort of mode or isn't thinking about gaming, but it's nice to have that option there, and I would have liked the fact if Philips included a HDMI input. Nevertheless, that is the inputs you get, two DisplayPort inputs only. Now the monitor is a 27-inch monitor, it's a PLS LED, has an LCD display, it runs at 16:9 aspect ratio, has a response time of 8 milliseconds G2G, at least quoted, and it has 2x2 watt speakers, which are completely useless in all honesty, other than Windows notifications. You've got a USB 3.0 hub found on the left-hand side of the monitor, which I find a little bit odd. I would have liked it on the right-hand side. One of the outputs, of the three outputs you got for USB 3.0, is fast charging capable, which is very much useful. And you've got a headphone 3.5mm jack output as well at the back of the monitor, which is always useful in order to have sound coming out, which you can drive through the display port from your PC and then output it via 3.5mm jack to your headphones. Always useful to have. Any other specs, if you're interested, plus the pricing and everything like that, can be found in the link in the description below, so make sure you check them out. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the build quality. Now, the first thing I want to mention is its stand. Now, the stand is very much sturdy, like all other Philips monitors I've come across with this sort of stand. It's very sturdy, it doesn't shake in terms of using the monitor. Now, the monitor can be pivoted, tilted, and well, everything you want really, height adjustment as well. So it's got the whole suite right there, and the stand is very sturdy, meaning that you can use it for a long period of time, no problems there. Now the monitor has reasonably thin bezels. I would have liked them a little bit thinner on the bottom especially, but they're not too distracting on the of the monitor itself. It has got a I'd say matte black finish, which is quite interesting because the monitor itself has a glossy panel, and I'll get into that in just a second. Rounding off the build quality, you've got a webcam at the top. It's a 2 megapixel webcam. It really does look like 2003 smartphone quality from a selfie camera. It's really poor, but the fact that it's got there is always useful. It's also got microphone inputs, which is useful for basic Skype calls, and all of these work via the USB 3.0 hub and the USB input to your PC, so bear that in mind. Finally, I want to mention its touchscreen controls and its on-screen display. Now, the touchscreen controls, I can't quite stress this enough, but I absolutely hate them. As far as I'm aware, any reviewer that has picked up a monitor really hates touchscreen controls, and they're found at the bottom over here. Now, touchscreen controls are annoying simply because you might miss-hit something, or if you've got pets, for example, and they come and brush it off, then it's just going to be annoying. It might seem quite finicky to some, but to others it's actually not a deal breaker, but it's something that's quite important. On the plus side, the OSD is very useful. Now hopefully you'll be able to see, if you just zoom in just a little bit more, hopefully you will see that my settings there, yep, there you go. So now you'll be able to see the settings I've got. Now at the top you'll be able to see that you can customize these picture formats. You've got the brightness control and contrast and gamma control. Now the brightness, I've got it 100 there just because I want to showcase how bright this monitor is, but in reality I use it about 78 to 79, so it does get very bright, so bear that in mind. The contrast, I reduce it to 42, and I'll explain that in just a bit in terms of its colors. Gamma controls can be adjusted as well, which is very useful. You can mute the audio and adjust the audio volume. The color, now you've got sRGB mode and Adobe RGB modes enabled right there. I've got it on user defined, and you've got the color temperature, which you can adjust as well, ranging from 5000 to 9300 Kelvin. So those are the adjustments right there. I personally would use a user defined if I were you, but if you're a photo editor or video editor, you might like to use one of the Adobe or sRGB modes. I personally didn't find them to be super accurate, at least to my eyes, in terms of the white points just seemed just a little bit off, which to me was not good enough. Now, going through it, you've got OSD settings, and then you've got setup, which you can turn on the USB, reset, and information. The OSD is very much complete. I've got no sort of complaints. I've just got complaints about the touchscreen buttons, which are an absolute pain to use. Now, let's talk about its panel quality, which is arguably the most important part, because you're buying a 5K monitor, and if you're buying a 5K monitor, you're probably interested to see what its panel quality is like. Now, as I previously said, it's got a glossy panel. Now, the glossy panel has its side, and that comes from it's very, very much shiny. You probably might be able to see me waving my hand, well, maybe not right now, but it does reflect quite a lot. But that said, if you want accurate colors, especially deep blacks, then you're going to have a glossy panel. And I can't stress this enough. In this image particularly, the glossy, the blacks at the top right and the top left are fantastic and really, really accurate. Whereas with other panels, even if they've got IPS or PLS displays and they've got matte finish, they're a matte panel, then you'll be able to see kind of a greyish finish over here. Now moving on to the colors, and I found them absolutely stunning. It's possibly one of the best and most accurate panels I've ever come across. Colors just pop, they just radiate, they're just accurate, and in all honesty, you could look at it for hours. It's really beautiful to look at. Now, I remember using an iMac back at my previous work, and an iMac also had a beautiful screen, and it kind of reminds me of that. It has that sort of iMac-esque screen. It's very beautiful, very accurate, and just looks stunning. Now, its resolution really does complement it as well. I haven't got something that's displaying its resolution. In other words, I've got a 2K wallpaper here just to showcase colors, but at 5K things really pop and they look crystal clear. Text looks beautiful, and you can sort of multitask very, very well. So just in overall, the colors are stunning. I can't quite stress that enough. I do think that it needs a little bit of customization through the OSD. As I said, I reduced the contrast, moved the brightness a little bit, looked at the RGB colors to make it really personalized to me, what I prefer. But the fact that it comes factory calibrated sRGB, Adobe RGB is flawless and really good for video editors and photo editors out there. So stunning, great job. Now, it wouldn't be like me to go without testing its gaming performance. Now, I was told by the Philips PR, do not test its gaming performance, it's not made for gaming. Now, I totally agree, it is not a monitor that's made for gaming. However, I am very much surprised and very much pleased to say that you could do casual gaming on this monitor. Now, you might think, okay, it's 5K, it's not made for gamers. I totally agree. It's not made for gamers, but if you want to launch a game, you can do. Its 8 millisecond response time is pretty accurate in terms of what it displays. Obviously, the monitor has some sort of problems displaying high frame rate, and talking about high frame rate, you're going to need a hell of a GPU to run 5K. I mean, I'm running a potato CSGO game, which can be run literally on a potato. But even then, it ran at like 60 FPS with settings set down. As soon as I turned on MXAAA, it ran at 2 FPS. So totally playable, obviously, if you're playing in NA. Woohoo! Anyway, guys, all I'm trying to say is its gaming performance is there, and it's able to do it. Counter-Strike took forever to load right there, which is a bit of a pain, but all I want to show you that it looks fantastic, and you can actually play, and it's playable. There is not that much visible ghosting. Input lag is a little bit higher than you'd expect, but nevertheless it looks fine, and I gotta say 5K looks stunning on this game. Anyway, guys, all I'm trying to say here is that it is possible to play on 5K if you so wish. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Hopefully you enjoyed the review.